We're just going to jump in and listen to what Olaf Scholz is saying. I'll get back to you in just a moment. Let's listen.
We were last year. We thought that nothing would be working now, that Germany would have no coal, no gas, no power, that there would be a massive economic crisis, that there would be disruptions in our supplies. Some people thought that we would have a very difficult fall and a worse winter. This did not happen. In fact, there is another reality. We're still warm. Everywhere in Germany we were able to provide all the necessary supplies in energy and set up new infrastructure. We have acted. We've taken action for our country to ensure its well-being and economic activity and spent a massive amount on energy because of increased prices.
Man kann also mit einem Kommentator sagen,
we can therefore safely say that the government has done everything to prevent an economic crisis, that we are in a better situation than experts had predicted. We have demonstrated that we had the will to overcome our difficulties, and we did that short term with little notice. We took the necessary measures, such as extending nuclear plant use, setting in new terminals for gas, extending the coal mining. All this has been done very quickly and has shown how reactive our country can be. Allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to say that this is the momentum that concerns our whole country. We are able to move fast when we're in the middle of a crisis. We are capable of acting swiftly, reacting quickly, particularly for renewable energies, solar, wind, and transforming our industry. We want to be the first country to achieve CO2 neutrality and still keep our level of the fourth worldwide economic power. And essentially, we are united still. We've respected our citizens whilst implementing these measures. Ladies and gentlemen, the cause of these challenges, the challenges that Germany has to face, is the incredible attack of Ukraine by Russia in an unspeakable war that created horrific conditions for today. It cannot be allowed for borders of countries to be moved by violence. That is what Russia wanted, and that is why, at the beginning, I'd already talked about a change in our time, in our era. And it's a good thing that with our partners we are supporting Ukraine financially, militarily, and with supplies of weapons. We have a real fracture in our export policies. It's a disruption for the European countries and Great Britain who are supporting Ukraine militarily. Many decisions have been made, and Germany will always be up front in the support in different ways to Ukraine. We are one of the first as regards the military support to this aggressed country. We have now decided to deliver heavy weapons, Panzers, the rocket launcher, the Leopard, the Leopard system, the air defense systems, we're going to provide more of those, the Patriot missile, which I agreed to deliver recently. All these measures for the Ukrainians to defend themselves, and all this has been done in close collaboration with our allies. This is why it works out there in the field, and this is the reason why we have taken these decisions. Now we're going to continue. We're going to take it further by providing some Bradley tanks, some Marder vehicles. The French will provide the reconnaissance armored vehicles. We are following fair, just principles because there's a war on European ground and not very far from the German border. We must be quite clear that we're doing everything we can to support Ukraine. But we do not want the war to escalate into a large-scale conflict between Russia and NATO. We are trying to keep at the heart of our action this avoidance of a worldwide conflict. But where are the good and the bad decisions as regards escalation? Who can say? We have been working with a step-by-step approach and being cautious. A principle of caution is very important in such a threatening environment. This is also the case for the last decision of the government. We are going to deliver battle tanks, the Leopard 2 tanks. We've come to this conclusion after intense discussion with our partners and allies. I want to underline that this is a fair decision. We didn't have anyone pushing us into this. We've given time for discussion and cooperation. Time. Okay. We want to set up some battle groups in Ukraine, allow them to have battle groups, and do this together with other European countries. We're going to deliver 2 A6s. Those are in the Bundeswehr just now. We're going to train the Ukrainian teams who are going to operate those tanks. We're going to provide the logistic and the maintenance that goes with them. We're going to allow our partners, the other countries, to also deliver such battle tanks. This is a fair decision. This weapon we are delivering is a highly efficient, advanced weapon. Ladies and gentlemen, there are many people around Europe and in the world who are feel insecure about this new step. But I want to talk to these citizens who feel it is dangerous. But just believe in us, believe in your government. We have done this along with all our partners, and the support we are giving to Ukraine is now possible without leading to a serious risk of escalation. This is what we are still doing, and thank you very much.
Vielen Dank für die einleitenden Worte.
Thank you, Chancellor, for your introduction. Chancellor,
Unbedingt.
please next time don't forget to also add me to your greetings as President of the Bundestag. Now the floor is for
Frau
CSU.
Präsidentin, Herr Bundeskanzler, Sie haben gestern über die Presse eine Entscheidung bekannt
Mrs.
gegeben.
Chairperson, Mr. Chancellor, yesterday there was a leak about your decision in the press. We would have rather that you had told us first and that we could debate this. This being said, it's a good decision.
Ich möchte an dieser Stelle aber darauf hinweisen, dass auf dem Weg zu dieser
And we
Entscheidung
approve
ein
of
erheblicher
it.
Flurschaden
I
entstand.
would like to point out
Und zwar
that
noch vor wenigen Tagen
it took a while to get to this decision with a lot of damage on the way, because up to last week there were conflicts with the Baltic states and with Eastern European states, with Poland, with President Macron as well when he spoke at the Sorbonne. And altogether, there was much debate and heated debate and misunderstandings. So politically, it's a pity that all this damage has occurred. Who is going to shoulder it? Thank you. I agree with you. But you know, we came to this decision yesterday, and today it's the first time I talk about it, and I'm talking to the Parliament about it. But frankly, if we had followed your line, we would have put our country in danger, because there are many citizens who are worried about your harder line. We didn't want to make this very grave mistake of acting unilaterally on this topic. It was really necessary for coordination between our partners and allies to occur. We're not following the time scale or the rhythm given by the press, but by peace and security in our own countries. That is our priority.
Sie dürfen eine Nachfrage stellen.
Herr Bundeskanzler, Sie haben davon gesprochen, dass wir mit unserer
Mr. Chancellor,
Ukraine keine Provokation gegenüber
you
Russland
mentioned
betreiben wollen,
that
den Konflikt Russland-NATO nicht
we're not
verbreiten.
provoking Russia, that you don't want to lead to a war between Russia and NATO. But what is more confrontational,
Im Januar des Jahres 2023, dass es jetzt keine Provokation ist,
whether you're talking about the battle tank or other weapons, what is the why is it more provocative to wait till now than if we'd done it earlier on? I wasn't talking about provocation. If there is one, if there were one, it would. The real one is the one of imperialist Russia invading Ukraine. That is the provocation. But as for us, as for me, let me answer your question. If you have somebody who stands in front of you saying that it is fair to act massively and not step by step, who says that never mind about cooperation, never mind about finding out what other partners think, never mind about caution, well, that person is not responsible. They're not taking into account our need for safety in Europe.
Eine weitere Nachfrage aus der CDU-CSU-Fraktion von dem Kollegen Hahn.
Another question of CSU, Mr. Hahn. Thank you, Chairperson. Dear colleagues, Mr. Chancellor, a year ago, you talked about a change in times, and we were in a new era. Yeah, you said you would give 2% of the GDP for the Bundeswehr and 100 billion. We haven't seen them yet, and with inflation and interest, they are actually melting down. And we want the budget to take into account your new stance. And you said that Germany should have the leading role. Well, then, at which moment are you going to keep your promise? We approve of your decision about the armored vehicles, but how long is it going to take to rebuild our stock? Thank you, Mr. Parliamentarian. Yes, I'll repeat what I said at the beginning. We're in new times. We decided to gather some new lines. We are going to spend 2% of our GDP on defense. I repeat it, and I'll see to it. And I want it to happen under my mandate and even in the next one, so that the pace is maintained. With this reallocation of funds, some action has to be taken. We need concrete decisions, and we want to go on being part of the nuclear deterrence action with NATO. These are also decisions that we've made, and we have contracts which follow and which cover many years, including delivery of complex parts and spares. We have to take into account the mistakes that were made in previous years by other governments, which came from your party, particularly having done away with military service, by having economies that were led by conservative parties and nevertheless cut the defense budgets. There were no long-term contracts placed. There was no building up of stock of spare parts. There was no emergency line created. There weren't enough ammunition planned. All this is the job of the government and the heads of staff, and I'm telling you, we're doing it. Ladies and gentlemen, could you stick to the time allotted? Next question from the Green. Mrs. Abushkava, you have the floor. Thank you, Mrs. Chairperson. Mr. Chancellor, you've made a just government with your government. It's a good decision. It's one of the. It was a very urgent decision to make in the context of the war crimes that are happening against civilians in Ukraine and the context of the big Russian offensive. Ukrainians need air defense systems, but they also do need armored vehicles. Debate discussion showed here that you have the support of the Parliament, so you have a democratic support. There's been the decision to deliver Leopard 2A6s as well as not the 2A1s or the ones. It means that we are going to take out of our stock and more have to be built. And I want to say that our party approves. We're going to give ourselves the means to apply our decision in the best conditions. We're working on this. We're following some milestones, and we're not going to let the press pace our action. We need to take time for going along all together. We need to also give time for training the battle groups that go with these tanks. So we have milestones to follow before the tanks are out there. You just mentioned a few points which are complicated. There are no easy answers to many points, but our solidarity to Ukraine cannot be brought down to the level of armament deliveries. Mr. Chancellor, what are the future needs for Ukraine? What else do they expect from us, from the Atlantic Europe and Germany in particular? Yes, I totally agree with you. We are supporting Ukraine militarily, but we're also going to provide financial and humanitarian support. We've done it already for a while, and we've spent billions of euros for this aid, and we're going to go on doing it. First thing that needs to be done, energy security. We have to stop the absurd and atrocious bombings on the Ukrainian electrical network. Then we need to think of reconstruction of the energy network and facilities. Yes, reconstruction. It's time to start thinking about it, because one day that war will end. We know that Ukraine is going to fight for a long time, but it will take, beyond the war, it will take a long time to rebuild the country. And we've started to set up structures to look into this reconstruction and take the first initiatives. Petra Buston, AfD.
Vielen Dank, Frau Präsidentin.
Thank you,
Liebe
Mrs.
Kollegen,
Chair.
sehr geehrter Herr Kanzler, Sie merken
Dear
das schon an der
colleagues,
bedrückten Stimmung hier im
Mr.
Saal.
Chancellor,
Das ist ein
the
historischer Tag.
atmosphere
Sie
today
haben gerade
is
die Fundamente der
oppressive.
deutschen Außenpolitik der Nachkriegszeit über Bord geworfen.
It's a historical day
Die besondere
because
Verantwortung Deutschlands
you've
für
thrown
die
over the
Opfer des Zweiten
fundamental
Weltkrieges
foreign policy principle. Germany had a responsibility in the Second World War, and because of this responsibility, a special sort of foreign policy was created. I'm not only thinking of the 6 million Jews in West Europe, but also all the Russians. And my colleague in the past, Willy Grant, moved for reconciliation, and this is why he got the Nobel Prize. No war, no more wars in Germany, no more weapons, no more exports of weapons. We had created a foreign policy based on this principle.
Danke, lieber Herr Kollege. Ich schließe mich dem an. Auch nie wieder Faschismus.
Well, thank you for your support, colleagues.
Genau
No more
diese
fascism.
Fundamente. Sie sind dieser Debatte überhaupt nicht würdig, wenn Sie hier weiter so rumbrüllen. Wirklich.
Kann der Kollege seine Frage stellen? Die
And,
müsste er jetzt auch bald stellen, wegen der Zeit. Und ansonsten
And please, no more unrest in this meeting, Mrs. Chair. I hope this is not part of my talking time. Mr. Chancellor, you're going to enter in history as the leader who went against our peace principles. You yourself campaigned with some promises against which you are now acting.
Die 14 Panzer.
der Kanzler antwortet jetzt.
Die 14 Panzer sind nicht militärische Entscheidungen.
You mentioned 14 tanks. Well, that besides is not much at all, makes no difference. Yes, it is a sudden change from the policy of Helmut Schmidt and Willy Brandt. But Russia attacked Ukraine. There is the breach. Those two important statesmen led to a détente where the opposing sides were able to live more peacefully in Europe. And there is something else as well. There were those two men who were able to make this policy because borders were much more intangible. And now the borders have been violated by Russia. That's why things are different, and I have not broken with the peace principle of Germany. I know that Willy Brandt or Helmut Schmidt would not have tolerated for one country to invade another either.
Herr Büstron, Sie dürfen eine Nachfrage stellen.
Herr Kanzler, Sie haben natürlich recht. Das ist Imperialismus, genauso wie die NATO.
Yes, you're right, Mr. Chancellor. You can draw the parallel, but the parallel is the extension of NATO. Helmut Schmidt and Willy Brandt would not have let NATO spread so wide, so far. You said that we would support Ukraine as long as possible. What does it mean in practice? What are the war objectives? When are you going to stop the deliveries? Because we started with small ammunition and we're now delivering battle tanks. How far will it go? I didn't mention aircraft, but if you would like to, we could discuss it. We are supporting Ukraine massively. We want this country to be able to defend its territorial integrity. As regards war objectives of Russia, they are clear. Russia wants to annex part of Ukraine. And there's the difference between you and us. We don't consider, sir, contrary to yourself, that Ukraine can be considered like the territory that sort of belongs in an imperialistic way to Russia. We are against this idea, and that is why we support Ukraine.
Nächste Frage stellt Dr. Marie-Agnes Strack-Zimmermann.
Next question, Marie Zimmermann of SDP.
Herr Bundeskanzler, das war eine wirklich gute
Chancellor.
Nachricht, die heute auch bestätigt wurde von Ihnen, dass die Bundesregierung den Weg frei gemacht hat, Leopard 2 Panzer an die Ukraine zu schicken.
Confirmed that the Leopard 2s would be delivered to Ukraine. It's good news for the Ukrainians.
An der Stelle
As you said,
erlauben Sie mir auch Herrn Pistorius, dem neuen Verteidigungsminister, herzlich zu gratulieren. Wir hatten gerade Gelegenheit, uns im Ausschuss auszutauschen.
Consultation time. We congratulate you for, in spite of this length, to have reached a decision and made it. And you talked about a coalition. It's not only with Europe, but it's also within Europe. Can you be more concrete as regards who is cooperating with us for deliveries of tanks? Which countries are going to do it? Which ones need convincing? And how can you improve this coalition of countries? Thank you for this question. We've always been quite consistent in our decisions, and particularly for the rocket launcher, the Panzerroboter, the defense systems, the Patriots. Every time we made a decision, we had made sure we had a coalition for European or transatlantic deliveries. This is what we're going to go on doing. We needed this time for consultation and coordination. Then we also need to communicate with the public opinion. I don't want to make any announcements for all the other countries, but we're not alone. We know we have the support of other countries. We took this into account, and we'll also provide reasons for our action to our public opinion. Yes, but is it good news that we are in a coalition for the delivery of tanks? Beyond the humanitarian and financial support, we are going further and not doing just the easy way, but making decisions concerning heavy weapons because they are needed by the Ukrainians. We are working in agreement with all the goodwill from other countries, and we are not forgetting delivery of spare parts and training. Thank you, Madam Chair, Chancellor. I would like to talk about something different.
You are on France 24, and we have just been listening in there to the German Parliament as the Chancellor Olaf Scholz officially announced to parliamentarians that decision to release those Leopard 2 tanks for Ukraine, a decision that's been weeks in the making. Our